You know, I'd forgotten how heavy this camera is. This was the second full frame camera I ever owned after the 5D Mark I. I needed something with better, but seeing it again now and feeling the difference compared to mirrors, like how robust and tough this is. But not just that, even compared to the Z8, this has just got that more tactile feel. At the little function buttons on the front, they click and everything feels just different, stronger. It's one of my favorite cameras of all time. It's just absolutely up there. I often think back, and I still absolutely believe this now, that I never ever needed to buy another camera after the D700. Looking back at those files now, they still have something that I feel a lot of the modern cameras lack. Sure, it doesn't have video and so on, but I really love the output from this camera. In this video, I want to show you why, in my opinion, the D700 refuses to die, and what it can still teach us today about photography that specs can't quite measure. Did you own a D700, or do you own a D700, and do you still shoot with one now? Let me know in the comments. I'd like to see if there are some D700 shooters out there still, even if it's not your primary camera. I'd like to also hear about your experience as well. So drop those comments in the comments section below. It's amazing to me that a lot of mirrorless camera manufacturers now still can't figure out where to put certain buttons and switches, but this was all figured out at this time. With the D700, I was never thinking about focus, it could just do it, and it absolutely still can now. The D700 focus system still holds up well, even today. And even now, like looking at it after all these years, compared to modern cameras, the grip, the weight, the click of the buttons, it just feels raw and purposeful. Modern cameras are cleaner and quieter and sleeker, and the D700 it's just, it's in your face. But that's really what I love about it, because that physical connection, that changes how you shoot. And cameras that feel this solid, because it's noticeably solid, they allow you to sort of commit more. You stop treating it like this delicate investment of a gadget, and you start treating it more like a workhorse. But to me, the real magic of the D700 wasn't just how it felt in the hand, it's the files that it produced. The rendering from this sensor has a bit of a character. The colors that it produces, the skin tones, that comes out in the way that the files handle. I always try to explain this to people when they ask me questions about the color differences and looks between cameras. It's not just what you can get straight out of the camera. It's how they behave when you start editing the files. Because it's in the editing, these color shifts and different looks come about, and it's how it handles it. And the images from the D700 were more organic, a bit more gritty, a bit more alive. This was pre-Sony sensor era for Nikon. Nikon were doing things differently, and I think that gave the D700 a bit of a special look. I don't know why I'm talking about it in past tense, because it still does exactly the same things that it did back then. It will do them now. Just having files that don't feel sterile, they don't feel like they're overly perfect. It feels like this is why I wanted to be a photographer, and I wanted to edit files and the edits to feel like this. So modern sensors have higher resolutions, and it's easy to obsess about sharpness, cleanness, and the fact that you think you can make it look grungy afterwards. But with the D700, you get reminded that that grit and texture adds a feeling, and the way it does it is its own way of doing that. It almost enforces you to embrace mood over that technical perfection. And in many ways, that shapes the way I kind of teach editing the way I do now. Now, something people always point out with the D700 is just the megapixels, or, like the lack of megapixels. It's only got 12. And in 2025, that sounds kind of ridiculous because phones have more megapixels than that. Megapixels don't give you a look as such. They only give you resolution. So what people remember about the D700 files wasn't that they were technically smoother. In fact, if you had a modern camera like an R5 Mark II, that will absolutely outperform the D700, no question. Well, what made the D700 feel different was that character of its files. The noise and the grain that it produces is more chunky, it's more visible. And that gave them a sort of more film-like vibe that people are missing a bit now. The clinical look, whilst you can change that afterwards. Absolutely. It's a different experience and feeling when you get it straight from camera and it looks good. If you want pure resolution, a 45 megapixel or a 61 megapixel sensor from a modern day camera is going to be miles ahead. But if you want that organic and gritty and slightly imperfect vibe, the D700 files have that. And they remind you that photography isn't always about technical perfection. Sometimes, and for me all the time, it's about atmosphere, mood, character. Having a camera that matches that feeling is why I still like these old cameras nowadays, in conjunction at the same time as liking the new ones as well. So the D700 is a bit like, to me, it's like the Harley Davidson of the camera world. It's big and loud, not very polite. It's, you know, it's definitely not quiet, but that's what kind of makes it fun to use. But all that comes together, doesn't it, to make you feel that the camera has not, you know, when we say it has a soul or it has a vibe of its own, the soul's probably going too far. But it has character of its own beyond just the way the files are. The camera body itself, it's noisy, it's heavy, it's just kind of in your face, it's big, bulky, it's got that thing about it. And some people might say, yeah, but that's all the things I don't want. But have you used it? Have you tried it? Because when you try something like that, you might just fall in love with it. Being that connected to that way of shooting, like that Harley Davidson reference I gave just a moment ago is really accurate. Being able to feel what's happening. You lose that with the modern cameras, even though they're so much more capable. So I think as a second camera nowadays, or maybe if you're starting out as a first camera, this camera's perfect, because this will be why you want to be a photographer. It's not the perfection of being a photographer. This is the why we do things. It represents all the things that people would complain about nowadays in a camera. But it's exactly what made it feel special. You feel like you're working with that camera because you can feel it. The thing is, to me, is that the D700 still matters because it reminds us of what's important in photography. It's bad at all the things that a camera is meant to be good at on paper, but it's really good at all of the things that you can't really measure in a test chart. It's good at all of that. So I could sum that up as mood matters more than megapixels. Mood is more important. That doesn't mean you can't have mood on higher megapixel cameras. I'm just not interested in megapixels. That's all it means for me. And it's still capable of producing today the same images that it produced when I got mine back in 2011, whenever I got it. Yeah, about 2011. And it's still the brilliant camera to shoot with that it always was. And if this way of thinking about photography resonates with you, if you want to bring more mood and depth and character into your own images, that's exactly what I teach inside my editing workshops. I walk you through my editing process step by step so you can see exactly how I create atmosphere in my portraits. The link's right below in the description and probably pinned in the comments as well. So go and check it out if you want to take your editing to that next level. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care. Bye-bye.